Hello everyone, my name is Matt, aka Legion Rex, and welcome to what is sure to be a very magical episode of the G.A.P. I'm your host, and with me today, I have Shane, aka the Bearded One. How are you doing today, Shane?
I do not deny that today might in fact be quite a magical episode of the Generic Anime Podcast.
Yeah, it will be. It'll be so magical that we'll have to rename the episode. We have to rename the Generic Anime Podcast as the Not So Generic Anime Podcast.
We'll have to change it to the Magical Anime Podcast,
or the Mediocre Anime Podcast. It's still MAP.
It's still, okay, I guess.
We will rename ourselves to The MAP. It will be a spin-off show.
Yeah. It'll be a spin-off show where we talk about anime that specifically involves road trips.
You know what? You joke, but I have a feeling there's enough of it to actually warrant a podcast.
You know what? I feel the same way. So,
technically, A Place Further in the Universe is a road trip
that is
anime.
Technically, that's a travel anime.
It's a road trip anime. So you know that means. That means that's
the first show we cover on our new show, The MAP, premiering July 36th, 2086. Stay tuned.
Stay tuned, folks, because it's going to be a fun one.
It's going to be a great day for anime fans.
It's going to be a great day. Today is also a great day because we're going to be talking about some of the simulcasts for the season. We're going to be talking about little to no news, but there's news nevertheless. Because it was yet again another dead week. And we're also going to be talking about our featured anime of the podcast. Just a couple of things to note before we start. We are recording this episode a lot earlier than usual.
Much earlier, because our host Matt here will be out of town the coming week.
Yeah, I'll be out of town for the next week or so. So we are recording this episode on basically a week before the podcast.
A week before it airs. Yep.
A week before it airs, as opposed to a couple of days before it airs. Second, you may have noticed something very different about the beginning of this podcast.
What? Huh?
We have an intro now.
Do we have an intro now?
Yes, it appears that we have an intro.
God!
Made by our lovely co-host himself, Shane.
Thank you.
He dedicated his time to making this wonderful intro. I hope all of you really like it. Alright, so let's get started.
See, here's the thing. We're recording this before I've actually made the intro, so I have no idea if it'll turn out to be good or not, so take it with a grain of salt.
I mean, I sure will, but because I don't want to seem like a fucking dumbass. But anyways, let's get started with...
Let's get this train rolling.
With our simulcast discussion. Alright, so Shane... We had the simulcasts are in full swing.
Mm-hmm. We are right slap dab in the middle of the spring season now.
And I am behind.
You are incredibly behind.
I am extremely behind. I am caught up on My Hero and Darling. Those are the two
I don't think you've watched any of the shows since like the second week. It feels like you're a couple weeks behind.
Yeah, I am a couple weeks behind. Because I've been very busy. I've been very busy with other things and prepping for trip, prepping basically for my trip as well. So I've been very, very busy. But I am really behind. I am caught up on My Hero and Darling though. So those are the two that I promised myself that I'd stay caught up on. First of all, I want to talk about Darling because I don't think we've talked about Darling enough on the podcast. We didn't talk about it. We honestly didn't talk about it when it was airing last season, which I feel
it seems like since we covered it, we haven't really actually discussed it much.
Yeah, we haven't discussed it much. Well, and because I want to talk about just how good it is.
Especially
recently,
yeah, in the last few weeks. I'd say since like episode
13.
I'd say since episode, like, 12,
12.
it's
12
really been gearing up to something big, and, like, episodes, like, 12 to, like, 15 are kind of like a little mini story arc in their own sense, because there's a lot of things that are going on in those episodes.
And okay, episode 13 and 15 in particular are
13
really good.
in
13
particular
is fucking amazing.
Like, legit best episode of Darling. I'd be honestly surprised if they managed to top this by the end of it.
I don't think they're going to, because I think I'll bring up something in a bit, but once we talk, you'll understand my reasoning. I think that when Darling is good, it's so fucking good, and I think that I think that Darling is the first show from this team, like the Trigger team, in a while that I think really is the first one to really embrace like the old Gynax style of like just it's ridiculousness mixed with really smart character work. I was surprised by how much Darling spends time with his character. There's entire episodes that go by with no mech stuff, which we don't see that a lot in mecha anymore. I mean, I used to see it a lot in like older mech shows, like Gundam. There's a lot of it in Eva too, but like we don't see it much anymore. There's a little bit in Eureka 7 too, but like we spend a lot of time in Darling without them not being in the mechs, developing characters.
Just them out and about, like hanging out in the mansion, just talking to one another.
Or it's either that or it's relationship drama. The show is basically a fucking relationship drama with mechs.
There's a fucking love triangle in full force. Maybe not.
Actually, there's 2 of them.
Yeah, there is 2 of them. Maybe not so much as of the current episode, because they kind of wrap that whole thing up.
And I'll get to that in a second, and why I think that might actually be a problem. But, because, alright. Darling has this, in this recent episode, basically kind of played its hand. And we still have 8 episodes to go.
Yep, I was gonna say
we have a big chunk to go still.
Yeah, I don't know where
they're going. I don't know where they're going.
Because I was gonna say, like, spoilers for anyone who hasn't seen Darling. Spoilers are coming. But there's this whole build up of 02 having a mental breakdown and basically killing Hero, because that's what she's known for. She takes advantage of her partners, and then she drains their life force, and that's that. But it turns out that as she's draining his life force, he connects to her memories, and then they find out that when they were both small wee lads, they met in a twist of fate. And it turns out that Hero was 02's original Darling that she had forgotten about, because they wiped both of their memories afterwards. And once they find that out, immediately all the issues are solved, all of the drama is basically non-existent. And that takes place within the course of like 2 or 3 episodes. Like they build it up to be this thing where, 02 attacked Hero, now they can't be together, they send her back to the Nines. And there's this whole drama of like, what's gonna happen? Are they gonna get back together? Are they going to be separated for a little bit? No, it's just all wrapped up in the next episode, and everything's happily ever after.
Okay, I'm on the one hand, I'm kind of glad they resolved it like really easily, because that plot point could have easily have dragged on for like a while, and I hate it. And it's kind of like one of those cliche things that happens, and you're like, okay, we're doing this, But at the same time, I'm like, where do they go now? Where do they go?
My issue is that they did kind of wrap it up a little too soon. Like, maybe not. Maybe you shouldn't have done it like literally the next episode after 02 is taken away. Maybe like an episode, like 2 or 3 down the line, wrap that up.
I mean, that episode was so good, so I don't.
I know, but I just feel like it went too quickly. Like they build this up to be this huge dramatic moment, and then it's just solved like right away, and everyone bends over backwards to get these two together, even though everyone hates 02.
I do think there's a couple of things I know where I think we should go. One, I feel like they have to discuss this stuff going on between Goro and Ichigo now. They have no choice. They have to deal with it.
Well, after she revealed herself to be a thought.
Yeah.
A dirty thought.
What a fucking thought, am I right? But they have to talk about that now. They still have stuff with Mitsuru to deal with.
Yeah, now that Hiro has his memories back, like
Yeah.
they should definitely do something with that.
I want to know what the deals with the fucking nines are.
The nines are weird because they feel like somehow they're the bad guys. Like they feel
like they're the villains. Yeah,
they feel like they're this shady other group that, you know, no one really knows anything about, but they're supposedly on our side.
I also find it interesting that if you looked at the way they pilot, is that there's
I know it's reverse.
Yeah.
It's reverse, and they're same-sex pairings.
I have no idea what that's supposed to be a metaphor for.
No idea.
Nor do I want to know what it's a metaphor for. It's a metaphor for something.
Yeah, because I don't know about you, but I wouldn't like to be fucked in the ass by a woman, thank you. That's just me. That's my personal
There's
preference.
some people into that, but like...
Because I noticed that too. I noticed that too. When the nines are piloting, it's either reverse positions, like the guy is the one in doggy, or same-sex pairings.
Yeah, which means that fucking Ikuno was right. Mm-hmm. Which means that they lied to them. Which means that fucking... Alright, I think I know where this is going. Fucking... at the end of last episode, we saw the giant hand thing.
Mm-hmm.
We have the giant hand. So, like, with one, I don't know what that is, but what? Like, when I saw that, I'm like, what? And then now we have to wait a week. We have to wait another week because there was no episode.
Yeah, because there was no episode this week. It was an interview special episode with the cast.
Yeah. There was no episode, but instead, we got that. But there was the giant hand thing. So I think I know what next episode's gonna be. We're gonna actually discover what the Claclosaurs are, and it's gonna be some like big disturbing twist.
It's gonna be some kind of fucking conspiracy.
It's gonna be some conspiracy. There's gonna be couple of episodes of what do we do?
Like, it turns out that Papa was the one who created the Claxosaurs as an experiment that got out of hand way too quickly.
Yeah, and then we discover what actually the deal is with the world and why they were made and shit. Basically, we're gonna get a bunch of reveals. Then this group is gonna fucking rebel or some shit. And then
they're all gonna die.
I do think one of the pairings is gonna die by the end. I'm legit on that boat now.
But here's the thing: which one?
Probably Mitsuru.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Probably either Mitsuru or Goro. One of the two. I don't see Ichigo dying. She's too popular of a character in Japan. And she's a fan. She's a favorite of the creators. If you watch the interview, Ichigo's definitely a favorite. So they're not going to get rid of her anytime soon. Ikuno is still up in the air because I don't know what her plot role is. I think they're hiding it. I think she's got something big coming up. Kokoro, no. Zerori and Miku, hell no. They're not dying either. Because they're the only stable people in this fucking show. No, I think it's probably gonna be Mitsuru or Goro. they're the two most obvious candidates. If Goro dies, I'm dropping the show though. So that's all y'all.
If Goro dies before the final episode, you've heard it here first. Matt will legit drop the show and never look back.
Because I don't want them to kill Goro, dude.
Goro doesn't deserve it, man.
Goro's
He's already almost died once, so like, cut him some slack.
No, he's a bro. That's what he's a bro.
He's a bro. When he sees his girl hitting up on another man, he's like, that's fine. Don't worry about it. I don't matter.
No, he's like, you know what? I'm hurt, but at the same time, I want my girl
I want them to be happy.
And then you're just like,
and he's just like, Goro, get back in there and fucking beat them up or something.
Beat up Hiro.
Just get in the fucking Franks by yourself and like step on them.
Step on and just fucking
just put a pillow in Ichigo's place. That's
go
good enough, right?
0-2 on his ass. Fucking just pilot Franks himself. All right, so since we talked about
did this turn into the Darling podcast?
Yeah, this turned into the Darling podcast really fast. I also watched the new My Hero, and holy fuck.
Ooh.
We're not gonna get too much into it. I think we've discussed My Hero so much on this podcast.
I think if you haven't seen the latest episode of My Hero Academia, you should definitely do so.
Because it's something. It is something.
Honestly, like, this episode, top tier, like right up there with like Deku versus Todoroki or any of the Stain stuff. Honestly,
I would argue that that these past 3 episodes have been top tier. This entire season. This season so far has been exceptionally well done.
And here's the thing, like, they've already reached their peak here, and it's only episode 4.
LOL, they think that anime-only viewers think that this is the peak of the season.
Sucks to be you. You're gonna get wrecked.
You know what? This fight that just happened? That's nothing compared to what's coming.
Nope. Because honestly, this is like the peak of the season so far. The only thing that's going to top this is a fight that's coming a little later on that we won't spoil for anyone who hasn't caught up with the manga.
But if you know the manga, you know the fight.
You know. You know what we're talking about. That's the only thing this season that's gonna match this, dude. Like, because they went all out with this fight.
Yeah, they did. Oh, I'm excited for the next episode too, because we get to see the mustard fight, and the mustard.
We get to see some Bakugo and Todoroki.
Yeah. No, the mustard fight is the Tetsu fight.
All right, it's been a while since I've read this arc in the manga, so I forget a lot of the smaller shit.
Tetsu and Kendo versus Mustard Gas Guy. Dude, that fight is fucking awesome.
I know.
So I am so happy that we get to. Also, my boy Tetsu gets
Tetsu, iron. He
gets a fight to himself, which I think is awesome. So he gets.
He has a character.
Yeah, he's not just a joke character. He's actually a person with feelings.
Right. He isn't just clone Kirishima. He's more than that.
Yeah, he is more than that. But Shane, what other shows have you been watching this? Well, like, are you having updated opinions on some shows?
Okay, well,
last podcast.
Seeing as how I am up to date. And by that, I mean, I fell way behind this week, and I watched all my shows literally last night. So me and Shane are literally the worst. I just got lazy this week. I don't know why, but I'm gonna keep up on it from now on. I swear to you, the viewer, not myself, the viewer.
Because we know we're not gonna follow through with it. But
anyway,
any updated opinions?
Okay, well. See, there's a lot more shows that I am watching now because the simul dubs have finally started up. Most of them. The rest of them air after this episode is recorded. But most of the ones that I was going to watch anyway have aired. So in terms of updated opinions on shows, nothing has really changed from what I said last time, Magical Girl Ore is still freaking hilarious, and you should definitely catch up because that last episode was great.
Good.
Megalobox is still best show of the season outside of My Hero because it just keeps getting better and better. The only issue I have with Megalobox is from the most recent episode, and I don't want to talk about that because you specifically haven't seen it, and I don't want to spoil stuff for you.
I know there's some shit that I was... Alright, I'm just gonna ask one thing because I was worried about this earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Early in the season, because the show seems to be taking its sweet old time doing stuff, and the season is only going to be 13 episodes. Is this going to be a case where the show is just rushing through shit to get to the tournament?
Yeah.
Fuck, that's actually kind of a shame. That's actually really annoying.
So here's what happens.
I hate that. That's stupid.
Here's what happens. Episode 4, latest episode as of this recording. Joe and the crew have their first qualifying match against Shark Gear Dude, and his whole gimmick now is that he's Gearless Joe because Nanbu is like, we don't need gear to fight these guys. I've got a plan. You're going to fight 3 matches with no gear, and then the last 2 are the ones that are going to get you in the tournament. So 5 preliminary matches. 3 of them he's fighting just regular boxing. He beats the Shark Dude without gear because of some technical footwork that throws him off guard. And then it's like, okay, so they got through 1 fight out of 5. Let's see what the next 2 fights are. They literally skim through the next 2 matches at the end of that episode.
That's, you know what, this Megalobox, I think this is going to probably be a thing that I'm going to probably bring up after the show is done. I think Megalobox should not have been 13 episodes.
It should have been double core.
It should have been 26. Like it should, because you do not do a sports anime, an original sports anime, and make it only 13 episodes. Mm-hmm. I think they were underestimating just how popular it would become.
Yeah. Yeah, and that this is literally the only issue I've had with Megalobox so far. It's because they've been taking their time showing all these matches and discriminating detail. And then all of a sudden, we get 1 long match, and then we get 2 skipped matches in a montage segment. And it's like, oh, okay, you literally just want to skim through all this unimportant shit to get to the tournament by the end of this. That's okay. This is where we're going here.
Yeah.
So I have no idea. They're going to show the next match in full because there was a character reveal at the end of this episode that involves Nanbu's past. So the next match is going to be shown in full. I don't know about the last match heading into Megalonia though.
I do think that I do think that there's a possibility, because I'd speculated before the beginning of the season that, like, all right, it's 13 episodes, but maybe this season is only 13, and then they're gonna like then maybe like in like 2 seasons or so there's gonna be the second core, like the second half, like a lot of anime
like what Food Wars did.
Like what Food Wars or Tokyo Ghoul did, or like basically what a lot of anime, like double core anime, do nowadays. They split it into 2 separate cores. Because
honestly, everything that has been on display here has been such a high level of quality. I want a second season of this because this show is fantastic.
Yeah, yeah, it is. Shane, is there anything else that you have?
Let's see. I started watching the time traveling butler show. It's dumb, but I like it. It's super gay, but I'm into it. Especially after the latest episode where there was a supernatural butler battle in an abandoned amusement park. That's all I'm gonna say.
That sounds really stupid.
Oh, it was great though. Kitaro was still great. The newest episode in particular was pretty fantastic. Good. The last thing I have to mention that I've already been watching is Magical Girl Say, which has dipped dramatically in the edge factor since the first episode and has not reached those levels at all.
I am both glad but also slightly disappointed, if that makes any sense.
Because I thought that first episode was so incredibly dark and unsettling that I thought, okay, they're setting a tone. This is what it's going to be like for the whole season. And now we're 4 episodes in, and it's like nothing has even come close to reaching the caliber of dark that was that first episode. Which does, again, make me a little disappointed like you, Matt, because it felt like in that premiere they were setting a tone for the rest of the season that they haven't followed through with.
I do think that there was a missed opportunity. Like, someone, Spencer told me something that actually made me, like, kind of, like, I was like, that's dumb. But the actual abilities of her, like, gun or whatever, it doesn't fucking,
yeah, it can teleport people.
I thought it was going to be, like a karmic justice type thing, where, like, she, like, fires the gun and it puts on to the people she fires, like, what they did to her or, like, what they did to somebody else.
No.
Like, that shit.
No, it just
teleports.
It just teleports people to where she imagines. That's all it does.
And I'm like, that is leagues less interesting. That is just, that's, and, like, literally the only reason they landed on the train was because that's what she thought of, which,
because they killed her cat.
Yeah, and the poor cat did not deserve.
No, he didn't
deserve that. But yeah, so that's a disappointment. But other than that, is there anything else?
There was kind of an interesting development in this newest episode. Spoilers, not really. You know the crazy psychopath brother who beats her up?
Yeah.
In the new episode, there's a shot of their dad punching him in the face. And they don't explain it. They just show it, and it's like, okay, what's going on there? That's interesting. I want to see more of this. And then they just don't explain it. I assume they're going to later, but, like, I want to see more of that. Like, what, family dissension? Like, what's going on here?
Yeah. But,
Other than that, everything else I have to talk about is new shows that I've started watching, either because I was waiting for the dub or I just added them to my list.
Right.
I'm going to mention these pretty briefly because we got to get going.
Yeah, we do.
And we don't want to spend too much time on this, seeing as how you really have nothing to talk about here.
Yeah.
But let's see. I started watching Devil's Line because High Dive started the dubcast. It's good. I like it. I'm actually really into it. Think of it as like, it's basically a Tokyo Ghoul style show because there's like, they call them devils, but they're vampires. I don't know.
The vampires, is it as bloody as people are saying? Is it gory and shit?
Yeah, there's some gore.
Nice. I like my vampires nice and gory.
But I like it spends a lot of time focusing on the main relationship between the two main leads, which I really like.
It is a romance show. It's classified.
Yeah, it is a romance show. So yeah, I really like that. I'm into it. The dub is pretty good. Not the best, but it's pretty
Sentai,
good.
So temper the expectations a little bit.
But like for their first dubcast, they did a pretty good job. Yeah. Oh, I forgot to mention Golden Kamuy, which I actually am liking a lot more than I used to, especially after this newest episode 3, which is by far the best episode.
Yeah, everyone who has seen episode 3 is telling me that it's so good, and it makes sense.
Because honestly, Golden Kamuy is one of those shows where the writing and the character interactions save everything. Because everything else is pretty mediocre, to be honest with you. They really stepped it up in this episode. Everything was on point. The acting, the writing, the story, the animation was significantly improved. So, I'm looking forward to where they're taking it. Hopefully, they keep up this level of quality. The simuldub of Dances with the Dragons started over the weekend. I like it. I can't tell you what the hell's going on, but I like it.
Our friend Spencer loves it. I think he may be overselling it a bit, like he usually does.
Probably. Like, take what he says with a grain of salt, because he actually has quite shitty tastes.
He has really garbage tastes, if you've noticed from his interactions on the podcast.
But yeah, Dances with Dragons, I like it. I honestly can't tell you what the fuck's going on, because, like, the story's really confusing. Because it starts... This is like a world where there are these people called... Jushikiists who fight dragons because there's dragons, and it's like a war between humans and dragons, but there's also different factions of humans, and there's like turmoil between the different factions, but they're all fighting dragons, and it starts with a really cool fight scene with the two main leads versus a high-tier dragon, but then it goes into more slice of life where they're like, the main dude, Gaius is his name, he's worried that he can't make ends meet, and he's worried about paying his rent.
This sounds like a tonal mess.
It kind of is, to be honest with you, because it goes from badass action scene with a dragon to slice of life where he's worrying about making ends meet, to government turmoil between the different factions, to romance with his girlfriend. All I
know is that Dances with the Dragons is supposed to be that in Japan, people were shocked that it got an anime because apparently the light novels are so dark that they were convinced it was never gonna get something. That gets me
honestly,
kind of intrigued.
Well, honestly, like, that opening fight scene with the dragon sold me alone, just because that action scene was fucking awesome. I don't know if they're gonna keep that level of action up throughout the season, but if they do, and you need, like, a dumb action show to just turn your brain off and watch, probably this.
Yeah.
What else?
There's probably Hinamatsuri.
I didn't mention Fist of the Blue Sky. Still good. Still like it. Pretty decent. Hinamatsuri started, and this show is fucking weird, dude. Like,
but in a good way. It's
really excited. It's a supernatural comedy. Like, a full-on comedy. Like, nothing in this show is played seriously. Other than some of the character interactions between Hina and Nita, the two main leads, because they do actually develop their relationship and their bond quite a bit. Everything else is played for laughs. Like, she fucking in the opening scene, she shows up in a cocoon out of a portal and just drops in his living room, and he's like, "Oh, okay." And then goes to fucking bed and wakes up in the morning, and he sees that she's still sitting there, and he's like, "Oh, okay, so I wasn't dreaming that. All right."
That's pretty funny, actually.
And there's a fucking, at the end of the episode, there's an action scene. That's all I'm gonna say. But there's an action scene, where she goes crazy with her psychic powers and beats up a bunch of dudes, and literally it's just a sea of dudes flying into the air, and all of them at the same time are yelling, "Oh, owie, ouch, no, owie."
That's great.
Like, this show's fucking stupid, but I dig it. So if you're just looking for if you're looking for a comedy with some supernatural elements and some nice character interactions, Hinamatsuri. The dub is pretty good. Mm-hmm. It's got some issues, not in terms of the actual voice acting, but in terms of the audio mix, because it felt to me like the actual dialogue was a little lower in the mix than it should have been. AKA, it's kind of quiet. So if you're gonna watch the dub, turn it up a little bit.
Yeah.
And then lastly, this is the mystery show that I've been teasing Matt on the Discord.
I desperately want to know if it's probably gonna be some garbage, but
well, okay. For context, I added a new show to my list because I've heard some really good things about it. I wasn't sure if I was gonna dig it, so I decided to wait for the simuldub to start and watch the first episode. I did. I really liked it, so I added it to my list. I told everyone on our Discord, "Hey, I added a new show."
I know what it is, but
I added a new show to my seasonal watch list that you probably would not expect from me, and they've been going crazy trying to guess for the last few days. Well, here's the big reveal.
I think I might know what it is.
Here's the big reveal. I have added to my watch list Legend of the Galactic Heroes.
I fucking knew it. I fucking figured. I want to watch Legend of the Galactic Heroes. I am waiting to watch it because I want to watch the original first. Because it's been on my list for years, and I want to watch the original because I know how reviewed it is. Mm-hmm. So, But how is it? How is the new?
Well, here's the thing. Like, I also have not seen the original series. It's legendary in the anime scene. Mm-hmm. It's one of those classic series that is like required viewing for anyone to,
but it's
to
long
really
as
get.
Fuck, so it's like one of those.
Yeah, it's over 100 episodes. It's long.
It's long. It's political. It's slow burning at times. It's a lot of characters, so it's a commitment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But honestly, watching this new series, having no prior knowledge to anything involving Legend of the Galactic Heroes, honestly, like, I didn't feel like I was lost. I felt like there were a couple, like, winks and nods that, like, hey, if you've watched the original, you'll get this a little more. But I didn't feel lost in terms of following the narrative. And I waited for the simuldub to start before I watched it. I watched the first episode that aired this past week. I gotta say, I really like this show. First off, animation is spectacular.
Production IG, boys. Production fucking IG.
It's a perfect blend between traditional 2D animation and CG. Basically, if you don't know, Legend of the Galactic Heroes is essentially a space opera.
It's Star Wars. It's Star Wars. It's the anime version of Star Wars. That's what it is. So
it's got huge galactic fleets fighting in space, and there's a lot of CG in the show, but they play it smart because they use all the CG for the ships themselves. None of the CG is used on the characters or the backgrounds. So it's all used for the ships. And the CG that they did use for the ships looks phenomenal because there's so much detail crammed into each frame. Same goes for the traditional 2D animation that they use for the actual characters. These characters look on point. Mm-hmm. Like, this show just overall looks gorgeous. And
there's a lot. I think you understand what you mean when there's a lot of characters in the show.
Mm-hmm. But other than that, I just found it really interesting because I wasn't sure if I was gonna like it because I'm not super huge into like hardcore sci-fi shit, like this. So I decided to try it out, and I found it really interesting. It's basically your standard, space opera show where there's these two giant armies fighting for galactic domination, and they're at war. But I felt like the characters, specifically the two main leads, were really interesting, and their dynamic was like really engaging. I loved every time those two were on screen. There's a lot of intrigue
if you like this, you'll like basic. If you like this, you'll probably end up liking a lot of like other sci-fi stuff that you may not have given a first glance to. Like, if you like this, you'll probably like stuff like, in terms of live action, you'd like Battlestar Galactica and stuff like that. You'd like that.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah,
but
so this could be your gateway sci-fi show, if that's the case. This could be a gateway.
Here's the thing. It's like, I like sci-fi, but I've never been into like the really hardcore sci-fi shows like Star Trek, Battlestar Galactica, all that stuff. I just never really been into that.
Yeah.
But for whatever reason, Legend of the Galactic Heroes I found really interesting because the characters were great, the animation was spectacular, the action was really well done. Like, they really sold the scale of these battles like superbly well. And there's also a lot of like intrigue with the side casts and the side plots because from what I could gather, the main commander, his name's Reinhard. The main commander of this fleet is kind of an idiot, and they're like, oh, this kid's just full of luck. He comes up with these battle strategies that would normally get us all killed, but they somehow work. And it's like everyone writes him off as like a fucking idiot, or, oh, he just got lucky, when in reality he's actually a tactical genius.
Yeah. And
no one really sees him for what he's truly worth except his second in command, which is also his best friend. Siegfried. And I felt like not that dynamic, not only between those two, but the rest of the cast that kind of looks down upon him, was really interesting because it seems like he's trying to prove everyone wrong, and I really like that motivation. Like, he's super chill, he knows exactly what he's doing, but at the same time he's trying to stick it to everyone who says he can't do anything right. and I really like that dynamic. Overall, just I'm glad I picked up this show because that first episode was really engaging, and I can't wait to watch more.
Yeah, I want to watch it because this stuff is my shit. I love this type of stuff. So
yeah, Matt is the sci-fi guy here, so
I love this type of stuff. Maybe this could be a gateway show for you. I hope it is because there's some good.
Who
shit.
knows? I guess we'll have to wait and see.
If you end up liking this, you'll definitely like other stuff along the side. You'll like other stuff because this is basic. I think the Legend of the Galactic Heroes is basically like as sci-fi as one could get. Mm-hmm. So like, if you like that, you'll like other stuff. All right, and I'm pretty sure we should be done here.
That's about it. Yeah. That went longer than expected, just because there was a lot of new shows that had started that we wanted to watch, but we were waiting on.
Yeah,
so.
And also Darling. We talked about.
And also Darling.
So I think it's time to move on to lack of news. We do have a little bit of news stories, mainly one big one, but we also have a couple of other stuff that I want to bring up. All right, so the only real big piece of news this week was that Shane, have you ever heard of an anime called Shirobako?
It sounds familiar, but I can't place it.
It's an anime about making anime.
God damn it.
Yeah, I think you may know which one it is. It's Shirobako has been with the Musashi Saki Shirobako Screen Festival event in Tokyo for the Shirobako anime revealed on Saturday that the franchise will be getting a movie. It will be getting a movie. PA Works, the people behind the show, will be starting production on the film. Does not have no set release date. It will be an all new work, so it will not be any recap from the show. It will be a sequel to the show. Shirobako focuses primarily on Ayo Miyamori, a production assistant at a fictional anime studio called Musashino Animations. The story follows the daily office life and problems that arise in the animation studio and the workflow in making an anime. Parallel to that, the show also focuses on Miyamori's friends, who all work or are aiming to work in the industry: a key animator, a CG animator, aspiring voice actress, and a scriptwriter. The 24-episode anime premiered in October 2014, and it is available to watch on Sentai and Crunchyroll. If all of you had not seen Shirobako, do it. It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. Shane, you should watch Shirobako because I think. So
this is an anime movie about making anime movies.
That's probably what it's going to be about. Yeah.
That sounds like the most meta thing I've ever heard.
Yeah, it is super meta, and the thing I like about Shirobako is that unlike other anime of its type, it's surprising. It's actually really accurate in terms of how in terms of how they portray how anime is made. Like they don't it's not like other stuff like that. Like I'm watching Comic Girls this season, and as much as I love Comic Girls, that is not how they make. That's not how manga works. I'm really excited. I'm really excited for this because I love Shirobako. It's one of the best anime in a long. It's one of the best comedy. It's not a comedy. I say it's more comedic drama, but it's It's one of the best shows of its type in a long time. And it definitely wasn't one of those shows that came out of nowhere and was just hitting it out of the ground and running with great characters, great animation, some really interesting perspectives on how anime is made too. It shows different areas. This is one part of the series which deals with a voice actress who's who's a diva, and because in Japan voice actors are a lot more of a big deal. The seiyus for anime are considered celebrities. They're huge. They're a huge deal. So there's one part of the series which deals with a voice actress who's full of herself and demands all this stuff from the production team, and they have to listen to her because she's a big name voice actress. So and she's making these stupid, outrageous demands. So, like, it's definitely one of those, so, like, if you appreciate the production side of anime or the production side of anything, you will relate to this show and you will love it.
Then I should probably watch it, then.
You should. It's 24 episodes. It's an anime original, too.
Yeah, I just looked it up on High Dive, so it's probably gonna watch that.
It is excellent. It is very, very good.
Because I'm totally into those, like, anime or manga that's all about making anime or manga. Like, I like that meta aspect of, like, basically showing the insides of the industry while at the same time either, like, you know, sometimes, like, you know, critiquing the industry with their portrayal of, like, what goes on, the inner workings of stuff.
Self-referential humor, basically.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I love that kind of shit.
Yeah, like, it's pretty, yeah, like, I love it. I love that stuff, too. Outside of that, we do have we're gonna talk about something I want to add to the a piece of, like, weekly news that I'm gonna start adding to the podcast.
Breaking news!
Not breaking news, but stuff we're gonna be talking about, like, every week or so now. We're gonna be starting talking about the sales numbers, because I feel like that way, because honestly it's kind of interesting what does really well in Japan, because then you can take a look, because then you can kind of understand like what shows are doing well, what shows are not. So we're gonna be talking about the sales numbers for last week right now. The big winner for sales numbers last week was the limited not a new show. It was a movie. It was a movie that came out, I think, last year in Japan. It's free. Take your marks. It was the free movie that came out last year. It finally came out on Blu-ray.
Otherwise known as the gay swimming anime.
The gay swimming anime. And in its first week sold over 6,000 copies. 6,336 Blu-rays were sold. Which I find... And then... That's the limited edition by itself. There was also, like, a regular edition, which sold an extra, like, 2,000. So this thing, first week, was swinging out of the gate. There's also a couple of pieces of news that's kind of disappointing. Psyche K, the new season of Psyche K sold first volume came out and did not sell very well.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
283 Blu-rays.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Wow.
Also, yeah. After the Rain also didn't do very well. 652.
Ooh, that's
First week, yeah, did not do very well. Good news is that in its fourth week, Place Further Than Universe is about to hit 10,000 copies, which is good.
That's good.
That's really...
That anime deserves all of your praise and your money.
Yeah, the Place Further Than Universe in Japan, and not just over here, but also in Japan, was one of the big winners. Like, people loved it. So, like, I'm really happy. Violet Evergarden continues to struggle. You may notice that it's in its third week, and yet the winner for the week was free, and it still sold more. It sold more in 1 week than Violet Evergarden has had sold in its entire run so far.
Ugh.
Violet Evergarden's like 100 behind. 100 sales behind. It's struggling. It's really struggling to gain an audience in Japan.
That's really unfortunate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, which is a shame because, like, it's a shame because it's really good.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that it needs to do better. There's a couple of shows that next week it's gonna be a big one for sales because Darling's gonna start selling its volumes.
Yeah, I saw that. Their first volume Blu-ray is coming out.
Yeah, same with Darling, same with Overlord, and same with Seven Deadly Sins. So we're going to start to see just how well those do.
Which we still don't have Seven Deadly Sins over here because Netflix.
Yeah, Netflix. So far, I think, honestly, I think I also wanted to talk about just how how much Grand Blue Fantasy is selling, because it's actually like stupid. It's in its 47th week on the list, and it's still there, and it's sold, and in total with all of its volumes has sold over like fucking 200,000 copies. Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah, this thing is fucking selling a bajillion. This thing is like blown up. I have not seen Grand Blue.
We watched an episode of it together.
Yeah.
That one time, and it was a good episode.
It was pretty fucking good. So I'm happy that it's doing as well as it is. Honestly, I think so far the biggest bomb of the season was Killing Bites in Japan. Killing Bites was just
it sold like 50 copies.
No, it sold like it was like 300 something. It was bad. I'm honestly really sad after the rain is bombing. Like that sucks. Like that show is so good.
I can see why, because the initial premise without knowing anything else is kind of hard to get over.
Yeah. And
that's
even
a huge hurdle.
Yeah, and then it's not even a romance in the end, so that turned off a lot of people, I think.
Then that just means that it was falsely advertised.
Yeah, it's really good though, which is a shame. It's a shame because it's really good. It's really, really, really good. So I'm hoping that like more people need to watch After the Rain. It's on Crunchyroll. It's on. No, it's not on Crunchyroll. It's on Amazon.
It's not on Crunchyroll. I was going to say.
Yeah, it's on Amazon. It's on Amazon. Go watch it. It's really, really good. Definitely check it out. Definitely watch it. And that's how dead it was for anime, because that's all we got for news this week. So that means we can go straight into the featured anime for the episode. Let's
get this shit going.
This podcast's featured anime is a recent show that wrapped up, I think. Yeah, about a month ago.
About a month ago, and it is a fantasy magic shonen show that took the anime world by storm when it first came out. When it was airing, it is known as the Ancient Magus Bride, directed by Norihiro Nagayuma and written by Kore Yamazaki and Aya Takahata. It is from Wit Studio. It aired for 24 episodes and aired from October 8th, 2017 to March 24th of 2018. And it is currently licensed by Funimation, and you can find it on Funimation now dubbed and in Crunchyroll in sub. The Ancient Magus Bride follows a young 16-year-old girl by the name of Chise Hattori. Chise Hattori has had not the best life in the world. Her mother committed suicide and her father left the family long before then. In a last-ditch effort to find some kind of home, she sells herself into slavery and gets bought by a... not gonna say by a creature named Elias Ainsworth, who is revealed to be a kind of fae. Huge air quotes person.
A kind of fae. Now Elias unexpectedly, after buying her, frees her automatically and says and claims that she will be his apprentice, and then later his bride. So the series follows Chise as she not only starts to begin to develop her mage powers, but also trying to find a cure for her impending death, as she is revealed to be a slay beggy and will die in 3 years if her magic is not contained. So Shane, what did you think of the Ancient Magus Bride?
Before we get into the discussion, I just want to mention Matt gave legal viewing options for this anime before he started his plot synopsis. That's something that I want to start doing from now on with our featured anime, because we here at the G.A.P advocate for legal streaming over piracy, especially when it comes to anime. So, before we get started, if you are interested in watching Ancient Magus Bride, you can view it subbed on Crunchyroll and dubbed on Funimation Now. There will be links in the description to take you to both of those sites for whatever version you prefer. We're not big enough to get sponsorships, so we can't offer you free trials if you are new users, but they usually give them to you anyway. So if you're a new user and you want to watch a show, check one of the links in the description, sign up, get your free trial, watch the show. It's pretty great. Again, if you want to view Ancient Magus Bride legally, sub on Crunchyroll, dub on Funimation. Now, this show's fucking incredible. That's really all I have to say about it. It's something. Like, this is one of those rare cases in anime where something gets adapted out of nowhere and it comes out and it just turns out incredible. Like, everything about this show is so whimsical and endearing, and it's just captivating to watch the events that play out on screen.
It's a really likable show.
Mm-hmm.
I would argue that this might be that when this was airing, I rarely get this feeling, but when it was airing, I got this feeling of I'm watching a modern classic right now.
Yeah, honestly, like
in the future, this is going to be one of those shows to a lot of anime, like when we're the veteran anime fans, we're gonna tell the younger generation this was watch Ancient Magus Bride.
Mm-hmm.
You will not be disappointed.
Like 10, 15 years in the future, when Naruto is still fucking airing in some way, shape, or form.
When they've yet to find the One Piece.
When One Piece is still running because Oda is a madman. Mm-hmm. I agree with you there that I feel like this is going to be viewed like a decade down the line as like an example of a modern fantasy classic in terms of anime.
Yeah. And because this is a show that had me floored from day one. Not even just before the show aired with the OVAs. The OVAs
right.
as well were really, really good. So this show had me floored from the get-go. From its atmosphere to its characters, to the fact, and we'll get to this later, to its impeccable directing. This is a beautifully directed show. The name of the director here, Nobuhiro Nagayuma. Props to him because he directed the shit out of this show. He directed the shit out of this. And what's interesting is that he hasn't really directed much outside of this. So I hope that he gets more. But I think he may know some stuff because he did work on a lot of Mamoru Hosoda's stuff before working on this. He was a key animator on a lot of them, especially Go Who Left Through Time. He was a big one on that.
Okay, there.
He was the key animator on that, so I'm pretty sure. So he has some experience working.
He's got some chops.
Yeah, he's got some chops. But this is, I think, outside of one other thing. I think Ancient Magus is the first long-running actual anime he's directed. So props to him for directing.
Well, what a debut then, am I right?
Yeah, what a debut! Fucking, he directed the fucking shit out of this. He directed the shit out of this, and it was great. So let's get into the more of the details. Shane, what was your favorite episode of Ancient Magus Bride? I think I know what it is, but
okay. There's two that come to mind.
Mm-hmm.
Because both for different reasons. They're both incredible episodes in their own right. But I'm trying to determine which one had a bigger emotional impact on me.
There's a lot of episodes that are really
There's a
good.
ton of episodes like that, but there's two that stand out above the rest. I think, in the end, I'm going to have to give the nod to episode 12. It's making me sneeze. I'm so excited. No, but the two I was going to decide between were episode 12 and episode 22. And Matt warned me about episode 22, like, yo, this is best episode contender. After watching it, I know why. Because, honestly, episode 20... By the way, spoilers, I don't think we have to say that.
Yeah, no, there's gonna be... We don't have to say this. We've warned people before that the featured anime section would be spoiler-filled discussions, so...
But episode 22 is great in its own right, just because of how it delves into the backstory of Chise's family, what happened to her father, how her mother turned out the way she was, and all the stuff with Joseph and Kartophilus. It was just great, and there was a lot of emotional impact there, especially because it shows Chise finally putting her past behind her to move on, and I think that is an incredible character moment for Chise in its own right. But in the end, I think I gotta give the nod to episode 12, because not only does it have another great character moment for Chise, but it's basically the peak of her and Elias's relationship. Because that entire episode is just this huge build-up to her going back home to be with Elias, and there's so much emotional payoff there, especially with the last scene in the episode with the Phoenix, her being born anew from the ashes and flying back to Elias. That scene alone puts this episode in its own caliber. But also there's so many other things about this episode. Her meeting with Nevin in the spiritual world, talking to his spirit, giving her the push she needs to finally break out of her shell. Like, it's just incredible. There's nothing else I can say.
Yeah. I'm gonna go. So episode 12 is your choice. I'm going episode 22. As you sow, so you shall reap. Because I feel like one of the things I love about this show is that it does not play around. It does not bullshit. It does not like lessen anything. It doesn't, because even though it's technically a shonen, and yeah, it does have elements of shonen, so it very much clearly is aimed at that demographic, but even though it's a shonen, it does not bullshit. It does not tone down. It does not lie to you. It shows you exactly what you need to see and says, this is it. Life sucks. Deal with it. And it's... And
take your lumps.
Take your lumps. Yeah, and one of the things I love about episode 22 is that after watching episode 22, it puts a lot of Chise's, like, not just her prior actions into context, but it also puts her backstory in a completely new light. And you get to see just how much her mother was, like, just how bad it was for her mom. Like, just how bad it was. And I feel, it's not afraid, and it's not afraid to go dark. It's not afraid to go brutal. It's not afraid to go. It's not afraid to go fucked. Because there's one moment in that episode the episode that's up with the eye.
The eye scene. Even though you don't see it, just all the implication there.
The fact that there's no music. You just hear the noise of the eye coming out. You
just hear, like, the squelching of her eye being torn out of her socket.
And her scream, and her, like, gut-wrenching scream, and it's uncomfortable, and also the episode in terms of direction, it's so well directed and so well done. And I love, and it's just a fantastic episode. You know, in a series that is filled to the brim with fantastic episodes. This was a hard decision. So I did not make this decision lightly. There's a ton of great episodes here.
I just love like I said before with episode 22, I just love all the development that her family gets, specifically her mother, which we never find out what happens to her dad and her brother. They just disappear. Yeah. It's implied that they're killed by monsters, but we never actually see it. They just disappear.
I do think that that's a plot thread that is yet to be. I think that's definitely like a thing, because this is adapted from a manga. I think that's definitely something that the manga will bring up at some point later on.
But I just love the scene where her mom is laying on the floor, Chisei's in the other room, and she just doesn't know what to do, and then all of a sudden the darkness in her manifests and tells her, kill your child. Everything will be so much better if she's gone. And then she actually tries to strangle Chisei. And then she steps back. She's like, what am I doing? I'm a terrible person. Why would I do this to my child? It's like, I love that scene, because it shows like the darker parts of humanity. We all have those dark urges inside of us. Yeah. And it's a battle to resist them every single day. And I think this episode specifically really shows that.
And it's a great episode. It's a really great episode.
It's heartbreaking, dude.
Yeah, this show is heartbreaking. This is not this is not a happy show.
It might have a happy ending, but
this is not a happy show. This is not.
The journey to get to that ending is full of darkness and despair and death.
Yeah, it's not a happy show. So Shane, in this not happy show,
in this horribly sad show,
who is your favorite character? Because I know mine, but
I could give the obvious answer,
but there's a lot of
a lot of great characters in the show.
Characters here, so there's a lot to choose from.
You know what? I didn't actually think about it. Fuck it. The answer's obvious. It's Chisei.
Yeah, I was gonna go Chisei too.
Like the answer is obvious. It's Chisei, because like she gets so much development, and she gets so much in the show. Like, you learn every little facet of her personality, her fears, her desires, her backstory. She's just a multifaceted character, and she has one of the most, if not the most, satisfying arcs in this entire show, because we see this poor, defenseless, broken child at the beginning selling herself for auction, to going through the entire show at the end to being content and happy with her life. And it's just such a huge 180, and we see, it makes sense because we see all the hardships that she goes throughout the entire series, and what she went through to get there and finally find her place in life with the person she loves. And it's just so heartwarming to see that transformation.
Yeah,
because
it really is.
I don't know about you, but if I felt my life was so meaningless that I would sell myself, I don't think I'd be coming back from that.
Yeah, same.
I was going to say Ruth, because I really like Ruth.
Yeah,
Ruth as a supporting character is a great compliment to Chisei. He's just fucking cool as shit.
Ruth is great. I love Ruth. I think overall, Chisei's my favorite too. Best female protagonist in years. She is absolutely amazing. For the fact that for a character, she's very multi-layered. Like she feels like a real person, and and you understand every single one of her motivations, and you just want to like hug her and tell her it's
Give her
gonna
a
be okay.
nice hug
You
and
just want to be okay.
just be like, shh, it's okay. Everything will be okay.
It's gonna be okay. And,
you just lost your eye. Don't worry. You can get another one.
And it's an absolute, and she's absolutely great. Like she's been, like she's nothing but she's nothing but spectacular throughout the entire show. I do have a runner-up for best character, and that's Cardophilus or Joseph. As a great villain, an absolutely great villain. In terms of, it's very rare that we get a villain like this, because normally one of the things I appreciate about Ancient Magus is that it's a show with a lot of magic, there's always that temptation to make it like really like ridiculous in terms of how the magic works, but Magus is really grounded. It never all the magic in it is like, it's either brief or it's more like really traditional magic. And so like there's less of fights in Ancient Magus and more of problem solving, and I love that. And Cardophilus is a perfect example of that. I love his character. I think that what they did with him in the last couple of episodes was brilliant. Was absolutely brilliant. And plus I want to give props to Josh Grell, who voiced him, who voiced him and maybe gave one of the best performances he ever has given. So yeah, I liked him. But Shane, who is your least favorite character from Ancient Magus?
I want to hear yours first.
'Cause this is another case of characters I don't hate. I don't hate anyone in the show. But there's
no real bad character. It's a lot like Bebop. Like, there's no real bad characters in this show.
Yeah. But I do have a couple. But unlike Bebop, I do feel there's a lot of them, and I do think that there's a case of, I think there's too many characters. I do think there's a lot of too many characters, and I'm gonna have to give it to Ash and I. 'Cause Ash and I initially really liked him, and here's why. I feel that initially Ash and I was, to me, the type of like villainous character I was looking for in the show, because he was like this. He's an ancient fae who's been around for like millennia, and he kind of had like mysterious motivations about him, and was kind of like, he initially was like, I'm just gonna fuck with Chisei, but then it looked like he had more sinister ambitions.
Elias, here I am. Now she's a fox. And then
he has some goal that is unknown, and we need to figure it out. Like, what is this goal? You could have done without him at the end, though. I feel he didn't really serve a purpose. I felt
not really, no.
Because by the end, it was all about Joseph. Pretty much, it was all about him, who's at least more interesting. But Ash and I was just kind of there. He was just kind of like, yeah, I'm evil. Ooh, like he was just that. He was like that the whole time. And to me, you could have done more with him, or just cut him out entirely, and nothing would have changed. If you can cut out a character entirely and nothing changed, I feel like that's a problem.
Yep.
Because then you can just. Because then that's just poor writing, and that's just you trying to force in a character that does not need to be there.
Yep.
So Ash and I, weakest character of the show. I do feel like that if they do another season, that he will no longer be as bad. But
he might actually serve a purpose.
He might actually, outside of just being a troll. It's pretty much what he does. He comes in, does some shit, and then
leaves.
And then leaves, yeah. So, but yeah, Shane, who's your least favorite character in the show?
Yeah, I got to agree, Ash and I. Because, like, okay, like, when he shows up, he's, like, completely superfluous. He just seems like this fucking prankster that Elias knows, and he shows up and he's like, "Oh, hey, Elias, what's that? You got a sleigh, Beggy? Whoops, now she's a fox! Ha ha, go catch her!" And then he bails, and it's like, okay, what the fuck was the point of that? It's like he shows up, turns her into a fox, and then leaves. And then in the next episode, she just turns herself back anyway.
In like 5 minutes.
And it's like, okay,
we'll
what the fuck was the point? What was the point of that? Who was that guy? Why? Like, and he doesn't show up for like 4 or 5 more episodes. And it's like, oh, okay, you actually came back. All right, because I totally.
Yeah.
I totally thought he was going to be that one-note character where he shows up just to fuck with Elias for some reason, and then we'll never see him again. So I was actually very legitimately surprised when he showed up again, and I'm like, oh, okay, you're recurring now. Okay. Oh, what's that? You're not going to really do anything for the rest of the show? Okay. All right, you stand in the corner, let Joseph have his moment. Okay, cool. And then, in the final episode, they fucking chop his head off. And it's like, okay, he's dead. Cool. Yeah, we'll never see him again. And then at the end, and in the finale, he's just chilling in the well with Joseph. And I'm like,
so
didn't you die? I saw you get decapitated. Like, what? I'm like, yeah, honestly, like,
his deal makes no sense. Like, he's like,
yeah, honestly, I completely agree with you. Like, he serves no purpose. His motivation is vague at best. He does nothing he does nothing with his screen time. The most significant thing he did was turn Chisei into a fox, and they solved that in like 5 minutes. So whatever, Ash and
I love how
you
like some of
fucking
the
troll.
stuff in this show is resolved like really quickly. Like, you think it would be a big deal, and then both Chisei and Elias are just like, meh, and then and then it just moves on.
Yeah, or like he kidnaps Stella's brother and Elias. And then it's like, oh, okay, they're in the fucking lake. Whatever. We had to walk like 5 minutes to the east to find them in a lake. Like, wow, you hit them really well, Ash and I.
You piece of shit.
You fucking troll.
You fucking dumbass.
Yeah, ooh, that's a sleigh beggy, isn't it? Well, now she's a fox. Oh, what's this? Is this your little brother? Well, now he's in the lake. Better go catch him. Like, what's your deal, man?
Do you just like? Are you just a troll? Like, do you just like fucking with people?
I think he just likes fucking with people.
Yeah. So Shane, any other things you want to bring up before we get into like some of the criticisms we have of Ancient Magus?
Well, storytelling is great. Mm-hmm. Animation is fantastic.
Okay, let's talk about that animation for a second.
Animation, whoo.
It falls into that weird category of like there's actually not a lot of movement when it comes to characters in the show,
but the art itself is spectacular.
This is a gorgeous fucking show. This is a beautifully shot show. Mm-hmm. Like, when I mentioned that they direct the shit out of this is a gorgeous looking anime. Absolutely, it's stunning to look at. Every episode is just like filled to the brim with like fucking gorgeous ass imagery that is some of the best I've seen in a long time. Like, with Studio, man.
Did you know, actually, that this is Wit Studio and Production IG?
Yeah, I knew it. Yeah, it is Production IG.
So, both of these studios brought their A game here.
Yeah, this is a gorgeous, gorgeous ass show. Like, this is an absolute delight to look at.
The soundtrack?
Oh, the soundtrack is really good.
Phenomenal. Like, a really great score. Mm-hmm. This is one of those weird shows that just like you sit there and you watch it and you know you really like it and you're really into it, but like you just don't react. You just sit there and you like watch like in awe at everything that's happening.
Yeah.
It just puts you into, like, a trance.
It's really good. It's like that. And
it's enchanting.
Yeah, it is. And I want to bring up something that I want to bring up something that I've been wanting to bring up with this show for a long time. And that's the thing I appreciate most about Ancient Magus is that it's one of the only anime I've seen in the past couple of years that can go on an entire episode with like half an episode with no dialogue and actually follow through with it. Episode 12, like Shane mentioned this, episode 12, the second half has no dialogue. I don't think you realize that. Like, there's no dialogue in the second half of that show. And in the second half of that episode. And the show is a very visual heavy show. And I want to give major props to the fact that it shuts the fuck up when it needs to.
Unlike every other anime.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. Unlike a lot of anime. Even My Hero.
Well, My Hero is especially bad with the exposition.
It's like, can you please...
Like, guys, can you shut up and just punch each other with your superpowers, please?
Yeah, shonen. That's shonen, though.
Yeah, that's just fucking shonen.
But Ancient Magus does it doesn't need to. It realizes it doesn't need words. It can just show you an image and be like, "This is all you need."
You just need this one shot, and you can understand all the emotion that's behind it.
Yeah, and it's great. Like, it treats its audience with maturity, and it treats them with respect. And it does not talk down to them, and I want to give major props to the fact that they followed through with that, considering that a lot of shows try to do that, but then they end up fucking backtracking on that anyways. So,
okay, I have one thing I want to mention, one last thing before we get into nitpicks. This is a weird opinion I have, and I want to see how you react to this, but to me, Ancient Magus Bride, to me, feels a lot like FMA.
It does.
It has that same kind of... It has that same kind of, like, aura surrounding it. It has that same kind of just overall feel. Like, it's got its adventure elements. It's got its likable main characters. It has a darker side to it. It explores... It explores every facet of the world. The world building is done really well. It's got its whimsical fantasy side with the magic. Like, I don't know. That's just the first thing that comes to mind. It's like, man, this feels a lot like FMA for some reason.
Yeah. It's got a very similar sense of humor, too.
Mm-hmm.
Like, one of the first things I noticed, even in the first episode, is that even though this show deals with really dark stuff, it has a lot of humor. Like, there's a lot of humor.
It's not afraid to use chibis.
Yeah, a lot of chibi. Which, by the way, Chibi Elias is the cutest thing in
Chibi Elias loses all of his teeth.
Yeah. Chibi Elias is the cutest goddamn thing on the planet, and I want one. Chibi, fucking... There's one moment in the last episode of the show where they have, like, Elias and Chise are having, like, a chibi argument.
Yeah, they're having the argument on the bed, and they're just chibi versions of themselves yelling at each other. And Chibi Ruth is just sitting in the doorway, like,
No, I can't. Like, no, one accurate representation of when you go over to a friend's house and the parents start arguing. But also, like, I can't take them seriously because they're so cute.
No,
they're so cute and tiny. And
then she turns to Ruth and she's like, "I've got something to say to you too." And he's like, "Borf?"
Oh, Borf? Fucking Ruth. No, fucking Ruth never goes Borf once.
No.
No, 0 out of 10. Or
0 out of 10. No barf again.
But let's get into nitpicks and criticisms, because I do have some issues. Actually, I got quite a bit of
there's some issues
actually. Here. More than I think I wish I had. More than I was initially thinking I was gonna have when the show started. Speaking of the comedy, I do feel like it's out of place at times. They put it in really bad places.
Yeah.
Because bad shit will go down for an entire episode, and then they'll like reference it, and then they'll be like, "Oh, the joke." They'll like a chibi joke will happen, and I'm like, now is not the time.
Yeah, the show doesn't have a good sense of comedic timing.
Yeah, it really doesn't, and I believe that's the problem of adapting a manga. That they were adapting a manga that does have a good sense of humor and actually spaces it out, but they're adapting it basically like panel for panel. So it's like, what do you do? In that case, you adapt and not do that. But anyways, that's another
However,
discussion.
can I mention one scene that I actually really like the humor in?
What?
It's in, I believe it's the second episode where Elias and Chisei go to meet Angelica, and Angelica's like, "What did he do to you, Chisei? And has he done anything weird?" And she's like, "Well, he stripped me naked and gave me a bath when I didn't want it. Is that weird?" And then they turn chibi, and she just decks Elias in the gut. I'm like, I actually laughed at that. I was like, that's pretty funny.
That is pretty funny.
And she's like, "Get out of here, you perv," and kicks him out.
Yeah, Elias himself. Elias is a surprisingly funny character. Like too. Elias is pretty funny.
That's because he doesn't know fucking basic human emotion.
But let's get into Elias for a second. Because I love Elias. But I think you may agree with me on this. Once you find out his backstory, he is infinitely less interesting.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah, he is infinitely less interesting because his backstory is kind of as generic as they come.
He's just a creature that was born out in the wilderness. He has no memory of who he was, and he has to learn how to be human from the others that he interacts with.
Yeah, and he is infinitely less interesting than he was before. I wish they kept his origins a mystery, because honestly, then he's
and they're like, "Oh, he has a history of eating humans. He used to eat humans," and he's like, "You don't need to know that.
Yeah,
stop it.
Please, I don't like it."
Also, he's kind of an asshole.
He's kind of a dick, and
he doesn't know personal boundaries.
Yeah, and I get Elias. I get it. He is.
I understand.
But at the same time, Chisei has told him no several times, and he keeps doing it
several times. Like he tries to wipe her memories. He willingly takes over her body, and it's like, bro, stop. And then he tries to murder Stella as a sacrifice to save Chisei, and it's like, bro, stop. That's not how we do things.
That's not how it works. That's not how anything works.
Put the small child down.
Put the child down, please. Step away from the children.
Don't diddle the children, Elias.
Let's speak of that second. Let's talk about that second half of the show.
Not as good.
Yeah, because we're not the only ones that think this. There was like an outcry in the anime community because the second half was wildly by some sections wildly panned. Like a lot of people dropped the show in the second half. I don't think it's that bad.
No, definitely not.
It's still really good, but the problem is that it gains an identity crisis.
Mm-hmm.
It definitely loses. There's something in the second half is lost.
Yeah,
something
like
is lost in the second half of the show.
The main example that I gave Matt was in the first episode of the second half, episode 13. It goes through like 4 different storylines. Like her and Chisei and Elias are shearing sheep bugs, and then she gets attacked by the ice bug, and then they have a serious discussion about their history and their relationship, and then fucking Ashen Eye shows up and turns her into a fox, and it's like, what's going on here? Like, immediately I could see, like, the lack of focus, and it really plagues this second half, at least at the beginning. More so near the end, it starts to get back on track, but the first few episodes here are pretty rough in terms of focus.
They're pretty rough. They're not bad. The stories they tell are really good, but it's definitely, like, they paced it really awkwardly. And what they should have done is either skipped those chapters entirely or had adapted them better. Had made them, you know, because what they did with Ancient Magus, and I kind of hate when anime do this, is that they adapted it panel for panel. Is that that's not the purpose of an anime, though. Like, if you're gonna adapt something, adapt it. Don't just recreate it. Like, that's, like, I've never understood the idea of an adaptation sticking 100% to its source material. Like, I've just never understood.
Take some creative license.
Yeah, I've never understood that idea. But also, I do think that the second, I feel like the quality of the stories are far better in the first half. When Chisei finally, because after episode 12, Chisei basically becomes a much more happy character, if that makes any sense. Like a happier character. But because of that, this show is struggling to find drama in some of the stuff. Like, it struggles. Like, it's like, okay, Chisei's a much happier character now. What do we do?
Let's turn Elias into an asshole.
Yeah, basically. Literally,
let's have him take over people and, like, threaten to murder baby dragons. And it's like, stop, please.
I love that. Like, fucking, because in the first half, Elias wasn't an asshole. He had questionable ethics, but, like, at the same time, you kind of
he was just misunderstood.
He was just misunderstood. And then you see the second half, I'm like, nope, they were right about you.
No, he's straight up dick.
Let's turn Elias into an asshole. Let's make one character worse so that this character could remain interesting, basically. Also, fuck it, I want to bring this up because I know other people in reviews have bring it up, and so we need to bring it up. The relationship between Chisei and Elias has some red flags.
Oh, yeah. Like, huge red flags.
There's some red flags, and the show does not address them. And it wasn't a problem for me. It wasn't. But I know it's going to be a problem for some people, so that's why I'm going to bring it up.
Again, Elias doesn't know personal boundaries.
It doesn't know personal,
like, at all.
Yeah. And when I mentioned that in the synopsis that he wants Chisei to be his bride, he's not joking about that at all. That's what I mean by red flags, because that's kind of creepy.
Like, yo, I just bought you at auction for £5 million. Also, you're gonna learn magic with me and be my wife. Let's go.
I mean, the thing that saves it for me is that Elias and Chisei's relationship is that good, and does.
But as soon as he says, "Oh, you're gonna be my bride," Chisei's like, "I'm sorry, what?"
Excuse me? Hell no. Goodbye.
I'm leaving now.
Now, Chisei's and Elias's relationship is really good, and they do kind of address a couple of things in the show about that, so I do, but not all of it. So I think they should have spent more time, like, really going into this, like, so, this is weird. This is weird,
right?
This is weird, right? But Chisei's and Elias's relationship is kind of adorable at the same time. So it's like I'm in that gray area where, like, is this weird? Probably, but I don't.
Oh yeah, most likely.
It's like, but I actually don't mind it that much. Oddly enough,
even though, Elias is just a giant child.
Basically, Chisei is more mature than Elias. Like, Chisei is 16, but she acts like she's a full-grown adult.
She acts like she's in her, early 20s.
Yeah. I barely act like I'm in my early 20s, and I'm in my early 20s. So
but Elias has no concept of human emotions until Chisei shows up, and then he seems to go through the entire spectrum in what seems like record time, because he falls in love, gets lonely, gets jealous, in this out of nowhere. This girl that you paid money for just shows you the entire spectrum of human emotion, and you go through every single one, and you're like, what is this feeling? As he's running away because her friend came over, and he's like, I can't be around them right now. I need to leave.
You have friends? How dare you have friends?
How dare you have friends? If all of your time is not spent on me, then it's not worth it.
It's not worth it.
And then tries to strangle her with with his tentacles.
Yeah, and you may interpret that statement how you wish.
Oh, you'll see if you sign up for a free 14-day trial of Funimation now at Funimation.com/abusive relationship. You can watch Ancient Magus Bride.
Alright, so I think we should get into our final scores here and wrap it up. So Shane, what out of you score out of 10, what do you give Ancient Magus? For all of the faults that it does have, and there are surprisingly quite a few, those definitely do not outweigh the positives of just this enchanting, whimsical show of a girl and her Elias falling in love. It's just it has its issues, but the pros far outweigh the cons. Everything else about the show is just incredibly well done. Fantastic direction, beautiful artwork, great character and world building. Yeah, the world building in this is excellent.
A fantastic villain. Just everything comes together to make this show a cut above the rest, to be honest. And even though it does have its shortcomings, those definitely don't drag the experience down. So, in the end, I say I have to give the Ancient Magus Bride a 9 out of 10. An extremely solid 9 out of 10. The show is definitely worth the effort. Go watch it right now if you're at all into slice of life, fantasy, romance. If any of this sounded interesting to you in the least, go watch it. It's definitely worth it.
I fully agree. Ancient Magus Bride gets a 9 out of 10 from me as well. This is a show that really, when its highs, its lows are kind of low, but its highs are so high that it really works. It's definitely one of those shows where the whole is greater than the sum of its parts, and I think that is, and I think that I'm always, and if the thing as a whole really works, I can ignore some of the minor issues with it in order to really see what they were going for. And what they were going for was a great show about grief, about loss, about mortality, about all of that, fun stuff. And it's a show that is both beautiful inside and outside. It is a show that takes its time developing everyone, and I just absolutely adored I adored it. I thought it was great. Also, on another note, the OPs of this show suck dick.
They suck, dude.
They suck. The song for the first one is really good, though.
Is really good, but the animation is meh.
Okay, no, I prefer. I like the first half of the OP, where it's just Chisei in the darkness and stuff. And she's dancing around.
That's great.
That stuff is gorgeous.
As soon as it cuts to the clip show, I'm like, you lost me.
Yeah, you lost.
Because I hate shit like that.
Oh, and
I hate
OP2 is the absolute worst for that.
Oh, it's terrible. I hate OPs that are just clips from the show. And here's something I just want to mention before we wrap up. Like, don't do that, because specifically with this one, it spoils a lot of important shit in the show. Like, it spoils Elias's monster form.
It spoils the fucking Phoenix shit in the first OP. It spoils the Phoenix.
Yep. It spoils Elias's monster form. It spoils the Phoenix. It spoils the reveal of Ruth. Like, it just shows if you don't want to take the time to watch a show, just watch the OP, because it shows you everything anyway.
It shows you everything anyway, and then the final episode of the series for the second OP actually has an OP that is original animation. Which is a league's better opening too. Because I actually like the song in the second OP. It's
not as good as the first.
Yeah. Oh, the first OP is like, the song is so good. It's so fucking good. Like, I hated when anime do, like, P5 did that this season. That pissed me off. Speaking of P5,
you know what?
P5's kind of. Speaking of P5 has actually kind of disappointed me. I'm not gonna lie.
It's honestly, just play the game instead.
It's not. It's not It's not bad. It's a good show. It's good, but it's not nearly as good as it could be.
But it did the same thing as fucking Magus Bride, where it actually has an opening now, like an original opening.
Yeah, it is an original. It is an original opening. But thankfully, P5 it took less episodes.
It took 4 episodes to make an actual opening. I mean, compared to the entire series in Magus Bride.
Have an OP either, so technically, it was only really 2 episodes. I think they were, and if you watch P5, you can tell. It seems to be a rushed production. So I think that
honestly, there's no reason to watch P5A over just playing the game. There's no reason.
Yeah, it's not nearly as good as I hoped it would be. Not gonna lie, I'm kind of disappointed by it. But yeah, I think we're pretty much done here in terms of that. So, and with that, you know what that means. You know what that means.
Oh boy, here we go. My favorite part of the podcast.
It's Shane's favorite part of the podcast, and that is the random anime generator. Now, if you're new to the podcast, this is we rotate between what anime we pick. It's either one of us picks the anime, or and then 1 week, and then the next time we do a random from the random anime generator, and then the next week is one of us, and then we continue rotating. But today is the randomizer. So
boy.
So Shane, which genres do you want to pick? Or do you want all genres, or just one genre?
Okay,
2 genres?
We're definitely not doing that. Definitely not doing that.
That's a recipe for disaster.
That's a recipe for disaster, and also my suicide.
Yeah,
so,
considering that last time we got on the randomizer, Shane almost wanted to die, so I'm pretty sure he's scared right now.
Oh, okay. I have a show in mind that I want to try and get, so I'm gonna try my best.
Will we get it?
Probably not, but there's a chance that we might. So first off, I'm picking action as my first genre.
So whatever show it gets, gonna have a lot of punchy. All right, next.
Okay. I've been trying on my own to get it through the randomizer. So, seeing as how most action shows also have this genre in it, the next one I'm going to pick is drama.
Drama, okay. Okay, so it's going to be a dramatic action show.
Okay, the last one is kind of a toss-up, because I found one genre that has produced it more so than others, so I'm gonna take the risk, and I'm gonna try it, and we'll see what happens. But the last genre I want is mystery.
I think I know what show you're trying to get.
So action, drama, mystery.
All right, and are you locking in? Is this locked in?
I'm locking in. Let's see what we get. Oh, the suspense is killing me.
It's loading. I clicked it. It's randomizing. I have never heard of this one. Okay.
Great. Okay, it's not the one I wanted.
The show we got is an action drama, fantasy, mystery, psychological show. It is called. It is going to be. It is the. No, let me look. Let me look this up. It is the.
Oh boy.
2012 anime from Studio Bones. Based on the manga of the same name, called Blast of Tempest.
Blast of Tempest.
Yeah, it's called Blast of Tempest. Here is the plot synopsis. Yoshino Takigawa, an ordinary teenager, is secretly dating his best friend Mahiro's younger sister. But when his girlfriend Aika mysteriously dies, Mahiro disappears, vowing to find the one responsible and make them pay for murdering his beloved sister. Yoshino continues his life as usual and is not heard from Mahiro in a month, until he's constructed by a strange girl who holds him at gunpoint, and his best friend arrives in the nick of time to save him. Yoshino learns that Mahiro has enlisted the help of a witch named Hakaze Kurisbe to find Aika's killer and the existence of an entity known as the Tree of Exodus. The witch's brother selflessly desires to make use of his power in spite of the impending peril to the world. However, Hakaze is banished to a desert island. It is now up to Yoshino and Mahiro to help to save the world, one inching ever closer to the truth behind Aika's death. This sounds awesome.
Thank God.
This sounds really good. And apparently it's very Shakespearean because it's basically based on Hamlet and The Tempest in a way.
Huh.
So already, one, I love Shakespeare, so I'm down. And second,
down the clown.
This is a legitimate mystery show.
Huh. Definitely not the show I was trying to get, but hey, I'll take it. Oh my God, it's 24 episodes.
It's 24 episodes, and it's a complete show apparently too. Like, it's based on the entirety of the manga, I understand. So.
Okay. All right. I'm cool with that.
Bones too.
If it's from Bones, it's bound to be good.
It's available to watch on Crunchyroll. There is no dub for it.
No dub.
It is on Crunchyroll. So if you want to watch it legally, for those who wish to watch Blast of Tempest with us before we go see it, before we talk about it, it can be watched on Crunchyroll, and it's also for any US viewers is also available to watch on Hulu. So yes, Blast of Tempest will be our next anime.
Okay.
Also, this will also be I believe the second show written. The person who wrote it, I believe we've already talked about shows that she's done before. I need to check.
Just need to do a little double checking.
Well, no, she's the person who wrote it. Also ended up wrote the newest Gundam. Wrote Iron-Blooded Orphans. She also worked on.
Ooh.
She worked on Ghostsick, Wandering Sun, and Black Butler.
Ooh.
She also did Vampire Knight.
Okay, well, got to bring it back down to earth.
I mean, I like Vampire. I have a soft spot for Vampire Knight though, so she also did Toradora.
Ooh, okay.
I have noticed that the show is classified as a romance on my anime list. So this might it's not classified as a romance there, but on Wikipedia it's classified as a romance. So it has
anything could happen when the randomizer gives. We ask, we shall receive.
Yeah,
we'll see what happens.
Honestly, this sounds like Shane. This sounds kind of awesome. Not gonna lie. So
honestly, at this point, as long as it's not Nakaimo, I'm fine with it.
All right, it's not Nakaimo. All right. So our next featured anime will be Blast of Tempest, and I think we're pretty much done here.
I think we can wrap this up.
So my name is Matt, aka Legion Rex. I am your host. You can find me at www.youtube.com/LegionRex. With me is my co-host Shane, aka The Bearded One. You can find him at youtube.com/TheBeardedGaming Network.
Yes.
where he does Let's Plays, he does unboxings, he does other stuff. He also has another podcast called Bearded Banter, which you can watch every other week.
Yes, you can find me on BGN doing all sorts of game and shit. Also, before we wrap up, remember, if you want to watch Ancient Magus Bride on Funimation now, go to Funimation.com/abusive relationship to get your free 18.5-day free trial so that you can watch Ancient Magus Bride and feel terrible.
And cry. But with that, I think we're pretty much done here. And I hope all of you have a great, great week. And we'll all see you next time.
We'll see you in 2 weeks for Blast of Tempest. We'll see how this plays out. Thank you for listening to The G.A.P. If you like what you've seen, you can subscribe to the G.A.P Podcast YouTube channel to get the latest podcasts as they go live. Be sure to like and comment and let us know what you guys think of the show. Thank you very much for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.